aliens might be living in our oceans. Imagine plunging into the abyss, a world without sunlight, where silence reigns and pressure crushes like the weight of eternity. The ocean floor stretches into darkness, a realm so alien that even our most advanced machines tremble at its threshold. We have mapped the stars, charted galaxies, and dreamed of distant worlds. Yet, beneath our own oceans lies a frontier more mysterious than the cosmos itself. What if the greatest alien civilization isn't light years away, but right here, hidden beneath miles of water, cloaked in eternal night? What if the beings we seek in the heavens have been watching us from below, their cities sprawling across the ocean floor, their technology humming in the currents? Tonight, we descend into a realm where science collides with myth, where fear intertwines with fascination, and where the line between reality and nightmare dissolves into the deep. This is not just a story about oceans. It is a story about us, our arrogance, our ignorance, and our terror of truths too vast to comprehend. Consider this: we know more about the surface of Mars than we do about our own seabed. Over 80% of Earth's oceans remain unexplored, a statistic that should chill the spine. In that darkness, in that crushing silence, what thrives unseen? Creatures beyond imagination? Or civilizations that predate humanity, watching, waiting? Reports of unidentified submersible objects, USOs, have haunted naval archives for decades. Craft that move with impossible speed, defying physics, vanishing into trenches where no human vessel can follow. Are these anomalies mere illusions? Or are they glimpses of a presence that has mastered the oceans long before we learn to crawl? Look closer. The ocean teems with life forms that defy logic, creatures that generate light in eternal darkness, organisms that withstand pressures that would crush steel. Evolution explains much, but does it explain everything? Or do these anomalies whisper of genetic legacies not born of Earth? If this theory holds even a fragment of truth, then everything changes. History becomes a fragile illusion. Civilization becomes a footnote in a saga written in currents and tides. And humanity? Humanity becomes an intruder in a domain it barely understands. Tonight, we peel back the layers of myth and science, secret by secret, depth by depth. We will confront the evidence, the speculation, and the psychological terror of realizing that the greatest alien presence may not be above us, but below. Are you ready to question everything? Welcome to the mystery. Welcome to the debate. Welcome to the possibility that aliens might be living in our oceans. Let the descent begin. The abyss we cannot conquer. The ocean is Earth's final frontier, a realm so vast, so enigmatic, that it dwarfs the imagination. We speak of space as the ultimate unknown, yet the truth is unsettling. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the depths of our own seas. Over 80% of the ocean remains unexplored, a statistic that should send shivers down the spine. Beneath those waves lies a world of crushing pressure, eternal darkness, and secrets that may redefine everything we think we know about life. Why does this frontier remain unconquered? The reasons are as formidable as the abyss itself. At depths beyond a few hundred meters, sunlight vanishes, and temperatures plummet to near freezing. Pressure mounts relentlessly, increasing by 1 atmosphere every 10 meters, until it reaches levels that would crush steel like paper. The deepest trenches plunge 7 miles into the earth, a descent so perilous that only a handful of missions have dared to venture there. Even our most advanced submersibles groan under the weight of these depths, their hulls engineered to withstand forces that defy comprehension. Yet, the challenge is not merely physical, it is psychological. The ocean evokes a primal fear, a terror rooted in the unknown. Its darkness is not passive, it is oppressive, a void that swallows light and sound, a silence that hums with menace. To descend into this realm is to confront the fragility of human mastery, to acknowledge that our dominion over Earth is an illusion sustained by ignorance. We are land dwellers, creatures of air and light, and the ocean reminds us of our limitations with every fathom. This fear is amplified by mystery. For all our technological triumphs, the ocean remains a reservoir of anomalies, phenomena that defy explanation, creatures that mock the boundaries of biology, and whispers of presences that elude detection. Consider the reports of unidentified submersible objects, USOs, craft that move with impossible speed, vanish into trenches, and exhibit behaviors that defy the laws of physics. These accounts, often buried in naval archives, hint at a reality that science struggles to articulate. Are these anomalies mere illusions, artifacts of error and imagination? Or are they glimpses of a presence that has mastered the oceans long before humanity learned to crawl? The alien hypothesis emerges from this crucible of uncertainty. It proposes that the ocean, not the stars, may harbor the greatest extraterrestrial secret, a civilization concealed beneath miles of water, cloaked in darkness, and shielded by the very hostility that deters human intrusion. This hypothesis is not fantasy, it is a question sharpened by patterns that refuse to dissolve under scrutiny. Why do USOs exhibit accelerations that defy hydrodynamic principles? Why do they leave no cavitation trails, no turbulence, no sound? Why do they vanish into depths that remain beyond the reach of our most advanced machines? To entertain this question is to confront a paradox, that the ocean, which sustains life, may also conceal life that is not ours. This possibility unsettles not only science but psychology, for it reframes the architecture of reality. We are not alone, not in the cosmos, and perhaps not even on Earth. We share this planet with a presence that eludes detection, a presence that may regard us with indifference, curiosity, or something more inscrutable. The implications are staggering. If such a civilization exists, its mastery of technology would eclipse ours by orders of magnitude. It would command the physics of pressure, the dynamics of fluid, and perhaps even the harmonics of energy in ways that render our achievements primitive. It would inhabit a domain that we cannot conquer, a domain that mocks our pretensions of supremacy. And it would force us to confront a truth that terrifies, that humanity is not the apex of evolution but a footnote in a saga written in currents and tides. This chapter is an invitation, a summons to descend into the abyss, to peel back the layers of ignorance, and to confront the possibility that the ocean is not merely a frontier but a threshold. Beyond that threshold lies a reality that may redefine life, intelligence, and the meaning of home. In the chapters that follow, we will explore the evidence, the anomalies, and the psychological tremors that accompany this inquiry. We will examine the reports of USOs, the physics they defy, the myths that echo their presence, and the creatures that haunt the deep with biologies that whisper of other worlds. For now, let the question linger like a shadow at the edge of perception. What if the ocean is not empty? What if it is inhabited, not by monsters of myth, but by minds that dream in darkness, minds that have watched us from below, patient as the tide? Unidentified submersible phenomena, USOs. The ocean has always been a theater of mystery, but among its enigmas, few are as provocative as the phenomenon of unidentified submersible objects, USOs. These are not myths whispered by sailors nor illusions conjured by imagination. They are documented anomalies, recorded in naval logs, radar data, and classified files. They represent a category of encounters that defy conventional explanation, challenging the boundaries of physics and the assumptions of science. Historical accounts of USOs stretch back decades, even centuries. Mariners in the age of sail spoke of lights darting beneath the waves, of shadows that moved with unnatural speed, and of sounds that reverberated through the hulls of their ships, sounds that seemed to emanate from the deep rather than the surface. These reports, dismissed as folklore, acquire new gravity when juxtaposed with modern data. For in the archives of navies and coast guards lie records that echo these ancient whispers, records that speak of craft, if craft they are, that maneuver with a precision and velocity beyond the reach of human engineering. Consider the case of the USS Omaha, a vessel whose sensors detected objects moving underwater at speeds exceeding 200 knots, an impossibility according to the laws of hydrodynamics. Water resists acceleration with a ferocity that renders such velocities unattainable for any known submersible. Yet, the data persists, corroborated by multiple instruments, observed by trained personnel. These objects exhibit behaviors that mock our understanding, instantaneous changes of direction, abrupt stops, and ascents that defy the constraints of buoyancy and propulsion. Such anomalies are not isolated. The archives of the Soviet Navy contain reports of encounters in the Arctic, where sonar detected formations of objects moving in coordinated patterns beneath the ice. These formations, described as resembling squadrons, executed maneuvers with a precision that suggests intelligence, a choreography of motion that transcends the randomness of natural phenomena. Similar accounts emerge from the waters off Puerto Rico, where the U.S. Navy maintains a training range. Here, sensors have recorded objects plunging from the sky into the sea, transitioning from air to water without deceleration, without splash, without the turbulence that physics would predict. What are these objects? The debate oscillates between two poles, natural phenomena and intelligent craft. Skeptics invoke explanations rooted in error, instrumental glitches, misinterpretations, or the caprices of marine life. They point to the complexity of sonar data, to the propensity of technology to deceive, and to the human tendency to impose patterns upon chaos. These cautions are valid, for the ocean is a domain of ambiguity, and perception is a fragile lens. Yet, the persistence of these anomalies, their recurrence across decades and geographies, resists dissolution into error. Patterns emerge, patterns of speed, of motion, of silence, that defy the stochastic rhythms of nature. If these objects are craft, then the implications are staggering. Their performance eclipses the capabilities of our most advanced submarines, suggesting a mastery of physics that renders our technologies primitive. They operate in a medium that imposes constraints far more severe than air, yet they maneuver with a freedom that mocks those constraints. They exhibit no cavitation trails, no acoustic signatures, no thermal wakes, phenomena that accompany every known form of propulsion. Their silence is eloquent, for it speaks of principles we do not comprehend, principles that may involve fields rather than forces, harmonics rather than hydraulics. The hypothesis that these craft are extraterrestrial is not a conclusion, it is a question sharpened by the inadequacy of alternatives. If they are not ours, and if they are not nature's, then what remains? The ocean, vast and inscrutable, offers concealment unparalleled by any terrestrial environment. Its depths are a fortress, its darkness a cloak. A civilization that sought refuge from detection could find no sanctuary more secure than the abyss. Here, beneath miles of water, shielded from the prying eyes of satellites and the ambitions of empires, intelligence could flourish unseen, its architectures sprawling across the seabed, its technologies humming in the currents. This possibility unsettles not only science but psychology, for it reframes the architecture of reality. We are not alone, not in the cosmos, and perhaps not even on Earth. We share this planet with a presence that eludes detection, a presence that may regard us with indifference, curiosity, or something more inscrutable. The implications ripple outward, touching theology, philosophy, and geopolitics. For if such a presence exists, then sovereignty becomes a fiction, and dominion a delusion. We are tenants, not proprietors, inhabiting a world that harbors intelligences older, wiser, and perhaps more patient than our own. In the chapters that follow, we will probe deeper into this enigma, examining the physics these objects defy, the myths that echo their presence, and the creatures that haunt the deep with biologies that whisper of other worlds. For now, let the question linger like a sonar ping in the silence. What moves beneath the waves with a speed that mocks our science, a silence that mocks our senses, and a purpose that mocks our pretensions of supremacy? The physics of the impossible. The ocean is a crucible of extremes, a realm where pressure crushes, darkness suffocates, and physics reigns with merciless precision. Yet, within this dominion of natural law, anomalies emerge, anomalies that mock the constraints of hydrodynamics, anomalies that whisper of principles we do not comprehend. These anomalies are embodied in the phenomenon of unidentified submersible objects, USOs, craft that maneuver with a freedom that renders our technologies primitive and our theories obsolete. To grasp the magnitude of this enigma, we must first understand the tyranny of water. Unlike air, water imposes resistance with a ferocity that escalates exponentially with speed. At velocities beyond a few dozen knots, drag becomes a wall, a barrier that demands prodigious energy to breach. Cavitation, the formation of vapor bubbles, erupts when propellers spin too fast, generating turbulence that betrays motion and devours efficiency. These constraints are not negotiable, they are woven into the fabric of fluid dynamics. Yet, USOs defy them with impunity. Reports describe objects accelerating from a standstill to hundreds of knots in seconds, accelerations that would pulverize any known material, annihilate any known crew. They execute maneuvers that invert the logic of inertia, right-angle turns at velocities that should shear structures into fragments. They plunge from air into water without splash, without deceleration, without the shock waves that physics would predict. They ascend from trenches with a grace that mocks buoyancy, vanishing into the sky as if gravity were a suggestion rather than a law. These behaviors are not merely improbable, they are impossible. Impossible within the framework of Newtonian mechanics, impossible within the architecture of our engineering. To account for them, we must entertain principles that transcend propulsion as we know it. Conventional submarines rely on propellers or pump jets, mechanisms that shove water backward to move forward. This paradigm presupposes friction, turbulence, and noise. USOs exhibit none. They move in silence, leaving no cavitation trails, no thermal wakes, no acoustic signatures. Their passage through water is as immaculate as thought, a motion without medium, a transit without trace. What does this imply? One hypothesis invokes field propulsion, a technology that manipulates forces at a level deeper than mechanics, a technology that bends the lattice of space-time or modulates the harmonics of energy fields. In this framework, motion is not achieved by pushing against matter but by altering the conditions that define motion itself, by engineering gradients in gravitational or electromagnetic fields that permit translation without resistance. Such a principle would render drag irrelevant, cavitation obsolete, and inertia negotiable. It would inaugurate a physics that regards our constraints as conveniences, our impossibilities as trivialities. Skeptics recoil from such conjectures, and rightly so, for they trespass upon the sanctity of established theory. Yet, the data persists, the radar tracks, the sonar pings, the testimonies of trained observers. These are not the artifacts of fantasy, they are the residues of encounters that refuse assimilation into orthodoxy. To dismiss them is to abdicate inquiry, to confront them is to court vertigo, the vertigo of a paradigm unmoored. If USOs embody a technology that exploits field dynamics, then their origin becomes a question of existential gravity. For such a technology presupposes a mastery of physics that dwarfs our own, a mastery that may have gestated in alien minds, minds that dream in dimensions we scarcely intuit. These minds, if they exist, inhabit a domain that renders our ambitions provincial, a domain where energy is not a resource but a continuum, where motion is not a struggle but a symmetry. The implications ripple outward, touching not only science but philosophy. For if the ocean harbors intelligences that wield such power, then the architecture of reality is more plastic than we imagined, more permeable to will. The laws we revere as immutable may be local ordinances, provisional codices inscribed upon a substrate that admits revision. To encounter a technology that rewrites these laws is to confront the contingency of our cosmos, the fragility of our certainties. This confrontation is not merely intellectual, it is psychological. It unsettles the scaffolds of meaning that sustain identity, culture, and hope. It compels us to ask whether progress is a ladder or a labyrinth, whether knowledge is an ascent or a spiral. It summons us to humility, a humility before the vastness of possibility, before the resilience of mystery, before the audacity of minds that may have mastered the impossible. In the chapters that follow, we will probe the myths that echo these possibilities, the legends that speak of civilizations beneath the waves, and the creatures whose anatomies whisper of other worlds. For now, let the question linger like a pressure wave in the deep: what physics governs the motion of those silent craft? And what minds conceived a technology that moves through water as if water were a dream? Ancient myths and oceanic gods. Across cultures and epochs, myths have served as mirrors, reflecting not only the fears and hopes of humanity but perhaps truths too vast for empirical articulation. Among these myths, those that speak of the sea are among the most haunting. They tell of gods who dwell in the deep, of civilizations swallowed by waves, of realms where power and mystery converge. Tonight, we explore these myths, not as relics of superstition, but as encrypted narratives that may conceal a reality stranger than fiction, the presence of intelligences beneath the oceans. Consider Atlantis, the fabled city described by Plato as a civilization of staggering sophistication, a society that mastered technologies and philosophies beyond its time. According to the dialogues, Atlantis did not perish in battle but in cataclysm, sinking beneath the waves in a single day and night of misfortune. For centuries, scholars have debated whether Atlantis was allegory or history, metaphor or memory. Yet, the persistence of this myth, its resonance across cultures, invites a question: was Atlantis a fiction, or was it a fragment, a distorted echo of a truth too unsettling to survive unaltered? The myth of Lemuria amplifies this enigma. Proposed in the 19th century as a hypothetical lost continent, Lemuria entered the lexicon of esoteric traditions as a cradle of primordial wisdom, a civilization that flourished before recorded history, whose remnants linger in the depths. While geology has consigned Lemuria to the realm of fantasy, its symbolic potency endures, entwined with narratives of beings who traverse dimensions, who manipulate energies, who dwell in sanctuaries beyond the reach of human ambition. Could these myths, stripped of their ornamentation, encode memories of encounters with intelligences that sought refuge beneath the seas? The pantheons of antiquity teem with oceanic deities: Poseidon, Neptune, Vayuna, gods who wield dominion over the waters, who command storms and shape destinies. These figures, draped in metaphor, may signify more than meteorological caprice. They may represent forces or entities whose power was experienced, whose presence was interpreted through the lens of divinity. The rites and offerings, the hymns and invocations, may have been attempts, not merely to appease nature, but to negotiate with minds that inhabited the abyss. Across the Pacific, Polynesian traditions speak of Kanaloa, a deity associated with the deep ocean, with knowledge and healing. In Japan, Ryujin, the dragon god of the sea, dwells in a palace beneath the waves, dispensing wisdom and artifacts of power. In the Vedic corpus, Vayuna presides over cosmic order, his gaze penetrating the depths. These motifs recur with a consistency that resists dismissal as coincidence. They suggest a pattern, a convergence upon the idea that the ocean is not empty but inhabited, that beneath its surface lies agency, intelligence, will. Skeptics argue that such interpretations impose modern frameworks upon ancient symbols, distorting their original meaning. This caution is valid. We must avoid the arrogance of anachronism. Yet, the persistence of certain themes, submersion, power, knowledge, across cultures and epochs invites inquiry. Why do myths from Greece, India, and Oceania converge upon the notion of beings who dwell in the deep, who wield technologies or powers beyond human ken? Why do these narratives intertwine with motifs of cataclysm, of civilizations erased by water, of secrets entombed in silence? One hypothesis posits that these myths are not inventions but transmissions, cultural residues of encounters with non-human intelligences. Such encounters, if they occurred, would have been refracted through the prism of perception, clothed in the garments of metaphor, inscribed upon the tablets of myth. The gods may have been visitors, their palaces, habitats, their tridents, instruments of power. The flood myths that saturate the mythologies of the world may signify not merely meteorological upheaval but interventions, acts of concealment, strategies of withdrawal. If this hypothesis holds, then the ocean becomes a palimpsest, a manuscript overwritten by epochs, its original inscriptions faint but recoverable. To decode these inscriptions is to reconstruct a narrative that destabilizes the architecture of history, that reframes humanity not as the solitary protagonist of Earth's saga but as a participant in a drama whose cast includes minds that dream in darkness. These minds, if they exist, may have shaped the trajectories of culture, seeded the matrices of myth, and retreated into sanctuaries where pressure and silence conspire to preserve their anonymity. The implications are vertiginous. They compel us to reconsider the function of myth, not as fantasy but as archive, not as illusion but as encryption. They summon us to humility, a humility before the possibility that our most cherished stories are not inventions but invitations, beckoning us toward a truth that trembles at the edge of articulation. In the next chapter, we will descend from the realm of myth into the domain of biology, examining the creatures that haunt the deep, their anatomies, their luminescence, their anomalies, and asking whether they are products of evolution or emissaries of an intelligence that thrives in the abyss. For now, let the question linger like a hymn in the silence: what dreams in the darkness beneath the waves? And what memories do our myths conceal? Deep sea mysteries and biological anomalies. The deep ocean is a realm of paradox, a domain where life thrives in conditions that seem inimical to existence. It is a world without sunlight, where temperatures hover near freezing, where pressure mounts to levels that would crush steel. Yet, in this crucible of extremes, life not only persists, it flourishes, exhibiting forms and functions that defy the orthodoxies of biology. Tonight, we descend into this abyss to confront mysteries that whisper of origins beyond Earth. Consider bioluminescence, the ability of organisms to generate light in darkness. This phenomenon, while explicable in terms of chemical reactions, acquires an aura of enigma when we contemplate its ubiquity and sophistication. From lanternfish to siphonophores, from cone jellies to anglerfish, the deep ocean teems with creatures that wield light as language, as law, as camouflage. Their luminescence pulses in patterns that resemble codes, sequences of flashes that convey information across the void. Could these codes signify more than instinct? Could they constitute a syntax, a grammar of communication that transcends species, perhaps even worlds? The anatomical anomalies of deep-sea fauna amplify this mystery. Consider the gulper eel, whose jaws gape like a nightmare, or the vampire squid, whose tentacles shimmer with iridescent filaments. These forms, grotesque yet elegant, seem sculpted by an imagination unmoored from terrestrial constraints. Evolutionary theory accounts for adaptation, for the incremental sculpting of morphology by selection. Yet, certain features, biochemical pathways, genetic architectures, emerge with a suddenness that strains the narrative of gradualism. Horizontal gene transfer, genomic plasticity, epigenetic modulation, these mechanisms, invoked to explain anomalies, may themselves be symptoms of a deeper principle, a principle that admits intervention. Intervention by whom? By what? The alien hypothesis intrudes here, not as dogma but as question. If the ocean harbors intelligences that predate humanity, intelligences that command technologies beyond our ken, then the prospect of biological engineering becomes conceivable. Such engineering need not mimic the paradigms of human artifice. It may operate through subtler modalities, through the modulation of developmental pathways, through the orchestration of symbioses, through the inscription of codes upon the lattice of life. The result would be organisms that appear natural yet bear signatures of design, signatures encrypted in biochemistry, in behavior, in the harmonics of luminescence. Evidence for such signatures remains elusive, yet anomalies persist. Consider the phenomenon of gigantism in abyssal species, the colossal squid, the giant isopod, forms that dwarf their shallow water kin. Why does size escalate in the deep, where resources are scarce, where energy is precious? Conventional explanations invoke metabolic efficiency, predator-prey dynamics, ecological niches. Yet, these explanations falter when confronted with extremes, when confronted with organisms whose dimensions verge on the monstrous, whose anatomies seem optimized not for survival but for dominance. The genetic architectures of these organisms compound the enigma. Sequencing projects reveal genes whose functions elude annotation, proteins whose folds defy prediction, regulatory networks whose complexity rivals that of vertebrates. Some sequences exhibit affinities with lineages that diverged eons ago, affinities that suggest either convergence or contact. Convergence is the orthodox refuge, a principle invoked to explain similarities that arise independently. Yet, convergence presupposes constraints, presupposes pathways inscribed by physics and chemistry. When similarities transcend these constraints, when they manifest in motifs that admit no functional necessity, the hypothesis of contact acquires plausibility. Contact not as visitation but as cohabitation, as a symbiosis between worlds, as an entanglement of biologies across epochs. If such entanglement occurred, its traces would linger, not in monuments but in molecules, not in artifacts but in anatomies. The ocean, vast and inscrutable, would serve as archive, a repository of forms that encode histories older than continents, older than stars. Skeptics recoil from such conjectures, and rightly so, for they trespass upon the sanctity of empirical rigor. Yet, the anomalies persist, the luminescent codes, the genomic novelties, the morphologies that mock the metrics of adaptation. To dismiss them is to abdicate inquiry, to confront them is to court vertigo, the vertigo of a paradigm unmoored. This vertigo is not merely intellectual, it is existential. It compels us to reconsider the architecture of life, not as a ladder but as a lattice, not as a hierarchy but as a web whose strands tremble with influences that traverse dimensions. It summons us to humility, a humility before the possibility that evolution is not a soliloquy but a dialogue whose interlocutors include minds that dream in darkness. In the next chapter, we will explore the psychological tremors that accompany this possibility, the fears it awakens, the defenses it provokes, the myths it engenders. For now, let the question linger like a phosphorescent pulse in the abyss. What intelligence choreographs the luminescent symphonies of the deep? And what secrets do these symphonies conceal? Psychological terror of the hidden. The ocean is not merely a physical frontier, it is a psychological abyss, a void that mirrors the architecture of fear. Its darkness is not passive, it is oppressive, a silence that hums with menace. To contemplate its depths is to confront the fragility of human mastery, to acknowledge that our dominion over Earth is an illusion sustained by ignorance. This confrontation awakens a terror that transcends biology, a terror rooted in the unknown, in the possibility that beneath those waves lurks a presence that mocks our pretensions of supremacy. Why do humans fear the deep? Evolution offers clues. Our ancestors thrived in environments where visibility conferred survival, where horizons framed security. Darkness negates this advantage, it erases boundaries, dissolves certainties. The ocean, vast and inscrutable, amplifies this negation. It is a realm without landmarks, without refuge, a continuum of opacity that renders orientation futile. In this continuum, imagination metastasizes, populating the void with phantoms, with predators, with possibilities that tremble at the edge of articulation. This fear is not irrational, it is adaptive, a sentinel against peril. Yet, when coupled with the hypothesis of alien presence, it mutates into something more virulent, existential dread. For this hypothesis reframes the ocean not as emptiness but as occupancy, not as absence but as agency. It proposes that beneath the waves dwell minds that dream in darkness, minds that command technologies beyond our ken, minds that may regard us with indifference, curiosity, or something more inscrutable. To entertain this possibility is to destabilize the scaffolds of meaning that sustain identity, culture, and hope. The destabilization manifests as cognitive dissonance, the psychological discomfort that arises when beliefs collide with evidence, when certainties fracture under the weight of anomaly. Our narratives of progress, of supremacy, of solitude in the cosmos, ossify into dogma, not because they are true, but because they are consolatory. They anchor identity in a cosmos that is navigable, in a history that is intelligible. The alien hypothesis shatters this anchor. It summons us into a sea of contingency, a vortex of ambiguity where knowledge is provisional and ignorance infinite. This summons provokes defenses, mechanisms of denial, of ridicule, of rationalization. Skepticism, often framed as rigor, becomes a bulwark against vertigo, a fortress erected to repel the insurgency of the unknown. Belief, conversely, may ossify into credulity, a capitulation to wonder that abandons discipline. Between these extremes lies a posture of humility, a posture that acknowledges the resilience of mystery, that inhabits the tension between curiosity and caution, between imagination and evidence. The emotional turbulence of this tension is profound. It reverberates through culture, through art, through myth. It engenders narratives of monsters, of leviathans, of gods who dwell in the deep, narratives that transmute fear into form, that domesticate dread through metaphor. Yet, beneath these narratives pulses the tremor of truth, the intuition that the ocean is not inert but animate, not silent but sonorous with secrets. If these secrets include intelligences that eclipse our own, then the implications are vertiginous. They compel us to reconsider the architecture of reality, not as a hierarchy with humanity at its apex, but as a lattice whose nodes tremble with agencies that traverse dimensions. They summon us to humility, a humility before the possibility that our maps are provisional, our models contingent, our paradigms perishable. This humility is not merely intellectual, it is ethical. For to encounter the other, the radically other, is to confront the limits of empathy, of reciprocity, of coexistence. It is to ask whether our species, intoxicated by dominion, can inhabit a cosmos where dominion is delusion, where sovereignty is fiction, where power is plural. It is to ask whether we can relinquish the myth of mastery and embrace the vocation of harmony, a vocation that resonates not with conquest but with communion. In the next chapter, we will ascend from psychology to technology, examining the instruments that probe the abyss, the missions that map its contours, the constraints that cripple their reach. We will ask why exploration lags, why ignorance persists, why the ocean remains a sanctuary for secrets that tremble at the edge of revelation. For now, let the question linger like a sonar ping in the silence. What terrors does the deep conceal, and what terrors does the truth unleash? Modern science and ocean exploration. Modern science prides itself on its audacity, the audacity to probe the unknown, to map the uncharted, to illuminate the opaque. Yet, when it comes to the ocean, this audacity falters. For beneath the waves lies a frontier that mocks our ambitions, a frontier whose vastness and hostility conspire to preserve its secrets. Tonight, we examine the state of ocean exploration, the technologies that venture into the abyss, the constraints that cripple their reach, and the silences that whisper of truth science may prefer to avoid. The statistics are sobering. More than 80% of Earth's oceans remain unexplored. This ignorance is not a relic of indifference, it is a testament to difficulty. The ocean is a crucible of extremes, a realm where pressure escalates by 1 atmosphere every 10 meters, where temperatures hover near freezing, where darkness reigns with an absoluteness that erases horizons. To penetrate this realm is to confront the tyranny of physics, the fragility of engineering, the vulnerability of life. Yet, we have tried, and we have triumphed, albeit partially. The bathyscaphe Trieste, in 1960, descended into the Mariana Trench, touching the Challenger Deep at nearly 11 kilometers. This feat, hailed as a milestone, was not a conquest but a glimpse, a fleeting visitation to a domain that remains largely inscrutable. Decades later, James Cameron's Deep-Sea Challenger repeated the descent, armed with cameras and sensors that captured images of a world alien in its austerity. These missions, heroic as they are, underscore a truth that humbles. Our presence in the abyss is episodic, our knowledge fragmentary. Why does exploration lag? The reasons are manifold. Engineering confronts constraints that verge on the prohibitive. Hulls must withstand pressures that would pulverize steel, electronics must function in temperatures that flirt with freezing, propulsion must negotiate a medium that resists motion with a ferocity unknown to air. These constraints inflate costs, complicate logistics, and curtail ambition. The result is a paradox. We dream of colonizing Mars while neglecting a frontier that begins at our shores. This neglect is not merely economic, it is epistemic. For the ocean harbors anomalies, phenomena that defy assimilation into orthodoxy, phenomena that tremble at the edge of paradigm. Reports of unidentified submersible objects, USOs, persist, corroborated by sonar, by radar, by testimony. These reports, archived yet unadvertised, provoke questions that science hesitates to entertain. For to entertain them is to court vertigo, the vertigo of a cosmos more crowded, more complex, more contingent than our models admit. Does science avoid the truth? The charge is incendiary, yet the evidence invites inquiry. Research gravitates toward the tractable, toward questions that yield to method, toward phenomena that submit to prediction. Anomalies resist this submission. They mock the metrics of rigor, the protocols of proof. To pursue them is to jeopardize credibility, to imperil funding, to trespass upon the sanctuaries of consensus. The result is a culture of caution, a culture that quarantines the anomalous, that relegates the radical to the margins. Yet, the margins are where revolutions gestate. The history of science is a chronicle of insurgencies, of paradigms shattered by anomalies, of orthodoxies undone by audacity. To dismiss the enigmas of the ocean is to abdicate this audacity, to confront them is to honor it. For if the ocean harbors intelligences, if its trenches cradle technologies that eclipse our own, then the implications are vertiginous. They compel us to reconsider the architecture of reality, to reconfigure the cartographies of knowledge, to renegotiate the contracts of power. The instruments of this renegotiation are emerging. Autonomous vehicles, Argo floats, gliders, ROVs, prowl the depths, mapping currents, sampling chemistries, imaging ecologies. Multibeam sonar sculpts topographies of trenches, spectrometers parse the signatures of hydrothermal vents, cameras capture the choreography of creatures that shimmer with bioluminescent codes. Yet, these instruments, ingenious as they are, remain constrained by endurance, by energy, by the tyranny of pressure. Their forays are brief, their visions partial, their archives fragmentary. What remains hidden? The question trembles at the edge of speculation. It trembles in the sonar echoes that defy interpretation, in the shadows that flit across cameras, in the silences that hum with menace. It trembles in the testimonies of mariners, in the archives of navies, in the myths that saturate the lexicons of culture. It trembles in the possibility that beneath the waves dwell minds that dream in darkness, minds that have watched us from below, patient as the tide. In the next chapter, we will examine the debate that swirls around this possibility, the clash between science and speculation, between skepticism and belief, between the consolations of orthodoxy and the insurgencies of imagination. For now, let the question linger like a pressure wave in the deep. Why does the ocean remain a sanctuary for secrets, and what secrets does it conceal? The debate, science versus speculation. The debate surrounding the possibility of alien life in Earth's oceans is not merely academic, it is existential. It pits two worldviews against each other, one anchored in empirical rigor, the other animated by curiosity and imagination. At stake is not only the interpretation of anomalies but the architecture of knowledge itself, the boundaries of what we consider possible. On one side stand the skeptics, guardians of methodological discipline. For them, the ocean is a theater of complexity, but its mysteries are terrestrial, explicable within the framework of known physics and biology. They demand evidence, replicable, quantifiable, resistant to subjective interpretation. Anecdotes of unidentified submersible objects, whispers of bioluminescent codes, and myths of civilizations beneath the waves are dismissed as artifacts of error, bias, or fantasy. Skepticism, in this sense, is not hostility. It is a commitment to standards that safeguard truth from the seductions of illusion. Yet skepticism can harden into dogma. When anomalies accumulate, when patterns emerge that defy conventional models, the reflex to dismiss rather than investigate reflects not scientific rigor but psychological inertia. Paradigms exert gravitational force, anchoring thought in familiar orbits. To venture beyond these orbits is to risk disorientation, and disorientation breeds resistance. The hypothesis of alien presence destabilizes the paradigm of human supremacy. It summons us into a cosmos more crowded, more complex, more contingent than our narratives admit. On the other side stand the believers, champions of alternative inquiry. For them, the anomalies are not noise but signal, clues to a reality that eludes conventional frameworks. They point to the precision of USO maneuvers, the genetic novelties of abyssal fauna, the persistence of myths that converge upon the idea of intelligences dwelling in the deep. These features, they argue, are not accidents. They are artifacts of intention, expressions of a science that perceives energy as a field to be harmonized rather than exploited. Believers envision the ocean not as emptiness but as occupancy, a sanctuary for minds that dream in darkness. Between these poles lies a spectrum of positions, from cautious openness to radical speculation. Some researchers, trained in the disciplines of physics and biology, acknowledge the anomalies without endorsing the hypothesis. They advocate for rigorous experimentation, for methodologies that discriminate between artifact and effect. Their stance reflects a principle that should guide all inquiry, that curiosity and caution are not adversaries but allies, that wonder need not abandon rigor, and that skepticism need not extinguish imagination. Why, then, does this debate provoke such intensity? Because it is not merely about oceans, it is about epistemology, the theory of knowledge. It forces us to confront questions that unsettle the foundations of certainty. What counts as evidence? Who decides the criteria of validity? How do we navigate the tension between anomaly and paradigm? These questions are not abstract. They shape the trajectory of science, determining which paths are pursued and which are abandoned. The psychological dimension of this debate is profound. For skeptics, the alien hypothesis threatens the coherence of a worldview that anchors identity in progress and rationality. For believers, skepticism represents not caution but closure, a refusal to engage with possibilities that expand the horizon of understanding. Both positions, in their extremes, risk distortion. Skepticism ossifies into dogma, and belief dissolves into credulity. The challenge is to inhabit the space between, to cultivate a posture of disciplined openness, a willingness to interrogate anomalies without surrendering to fantasy. This posture is not easy, for it demands humility, a recognition that knowledge is provisional, that certainty is a scaffold rather than a fortress. It demands courage, a readiness to venture beyond the familiar, to risk the vertigo of paradigm shifts. And it demands imagination, not as a license for invention but as a lens for perception, a faculty that discerns patterns where others see chaos. The stakes of this debate extend beyond oceanography into the future of science. If the alien hypothesis is false, then its refutation will clarify the limits of biology and physics, reinforcing the integrity of established models. If it is true, or even partially true, then its validation will inaugurate a revolution, transforming our understanding of evolution, technology, and consciousness. Either outcome enriches knowledge, provided the inquiry is pursued with rigor and integrity. Yet the institutional dynamics of science complicate this pursuit. Research requires funding, and funding flows toward projects that promise incremental progress within established paradigms. Anomalies, by contrast, are epistemic orphans, too speculative to attract resources, too disruptive to secure institutional support. This asymmetry perpetuates the status quo, relegating frontier questions to the margins, where they languish in obscurity or flourish in echo chambers unmoored from methodological discipline. The ocean, in this sense, is not merely a frontier, it is a mirror that reflects the psychology of knowledge, the interplay of curiosity and caution, wonder and fear. It invites us to examine not only its depths but our own, the depths of our assumptions, the trenches of our dogmas, the abysses of our ignorance. To engage with this invitation is to embrace a principle that transcends the particulars of any hypothesis, that truth is not a possession but a pursuit, a horizon that recedes as we advance. In the next chapter, we will explore the implications of this pursuit, what it means for humanity if the alien hypothesis holds even a fragment of truth. For now, let the question linger like a sonar echo in the silence. Is the debate about oceans a debate about the past, or is it a rehearsal for the future? A future in which the boundaries of possibility are redrawn by the audacity of imagination? If true, what does it mean for humanity? If the hypothesis that aliens inhabit Earth's oceans holds even a fragment of truth, the implications for humanity are staggering. It would mean that our understanding of life, of intelligence, of history itself, is not only incomplete but profoundly distorted. This chapter explores what such a revelation would signify for our species, our trajectory, and our place in the cosmos. First, consider the question of origins. The conventional narrative situates humanity within a framework of linear progress, from primitive beginnings to technological sophistication, from ignorance to enlightenment. This narrative is consolatory. It affirms our supremacy, our singularity. But if the ocean harbors intelligences that eclipse our own, then this narrative collapses. Civilization is not a ladder but a labyrinth, a cycle of rise and fall, of knowledge gained and lost. We are not the apex of evolution but participants in a drama whose cast includes minds that dream in darkness. This possibility reframes the meaning of technology. We equate advancement with complexity, with circuits, algorithms, and digital networks. But what if true advancement lies not in proliferation but in harmonization, in the attunement of energy, in the orchestration of matter through principles that transcend mechanics? The technologies of an oceanic intelligence may operate through modalities we scarcely intuit, through fields rather than forces, through symmetries rather than structures. Such technologies would render our engines quaint, our algorithms provincial. They would inaugurate a paradigm in which power is not domination but resonance, not extraction but equilibrium. The existential dimension of this revelation is profound. It destabilizes the scaffolds of meaning that sustain identity, culture, and hope. It compels us to ask whether progress is ascent or illusion, whether knowledge is conquest or communion. It summons us to humility, a humility before the vastness of possibility, before the resilience of mystery, before the audacity of minds that may have mastered the impossible. Yet this humility is not merely intellectual, it is ethical. For to encounter the other, the radically other, is to confront the limits of empathy, of reciprocity, of coexistence. It is to ask whether our species, intoxicated by dominion, can inhabit a cosmos where dominion is delusion, where sovereignty is fiction, where power is plural. It is to ask whether we can relinquish the myth of mastery and embrace the vocation of harmony, a vocation that resonates not with conquest but with communion. The psychological impact of such a revelation would be seismic. It would reverberate through institutions, through economies, through consciousness itself. Religions would reinterpret their cosmologies, sciences would reconstruct their paradigms, philosophies would reconfigure their ontologies. The shock would ripple across cultures, engendering oscillations between wonder and dread, between openness and defensiveness. For some, this shock would evoke awe, a sense of exhilaration at the vastness of reality. For others, it would provoke terror, a terror rooted in the fragility of certainties and the vertigo of unbounded possibility. This terror is not trivial, for it shapes the trajectory of response. When paradigms collapse, societies oscillate between innovation and regression, between the embrace of novelty and the retreat into dogma. The rediscovery of alien presence would catalyze this oscillation, amplifying tensions that already fracture the global order. In this sense, the ocean is not merely a frontier, it is a fulcrum, a pivot upon which the future may tilt toward renaissance or ruin. What, then, does this mean for the future? It means that the horizon of possibility is wider than we imagine, and that the map of knowledge is not a chart but a palimpsest, a manuscript overwritten by epochs, its original inscriptions faint but recoverable. It means that progress is not a linear ascent but a spiral, a dance between forgetting and remembering, between loss and recovery. And it means that the ultimate frontier is not outer space but inner space, the domain of consciousness, where the harmonies of energy converge with the architectures of intention. If aliens inhabit the ocean, then they inhabit not merely a physical domain but a metaphysical one, a domain where matter and mind interpenetrate, where technology is indistinguishable from ontology. To encounter such beings is to encounter a mode of existence that renders our dichotomies, nature and culture, science and spirit, obsolete. It is to confront the contingency of our categories, the plasticity of our paradigms, the permeability of our cosmos. This confrontation is perilous, for knowledge is ambivalent. It illuminates, but it also blinds, it liberates, but it also binds. The principles encoded in alien technologies, if assimilated, could transform civilization, but in which direction? Toward harmony or hubris, toward stewardship or subjugation. The history of technology is a chronicle of ambivalence, and the alien hypothesis amplifies this ambivalence to a cosmic scale. To navigate this scale, we must cultivate virtues that transcend intellect: humility, empathy, imagination. Humility before the vastness of reality, empathy toward the otherness of the other, imagination to envision futures that honor plurality, that harmonize power with purpose. These virtues are not luxuries, they are necessities, necessities inscribed upon the horizon of a world that trembles at the threshold of revelation. In the closing reflection, we will contemplate this threshold, exploring what it means to live in a universe where energy is not an object but a relationship, where power is not domination but dialogue, where technology is not a device but a disposition, a way of being attuned to the frequencies of the real. For now, let the question linger like a sonar echo in the abyss. If aliens inhabit the ocean, what do they desire, and what do they demand? Closing reflection. The ocean sleeps beneath a canopy of stars, and its silence hums with secrets older than continents, older than memory. It does not speak, yet it whispers, a whisper that trembles in the sonar echoes, that flickers in the bioluminescent pulse of abyssal creatures, that reverberates in the myths we dismiss as fantasy. Tonight, we stand at the threshold of that whisper, and we ask, what if it is not silence but speech? What if it is not emptiness but presence? If aliens inhabit Earth's oceans, then the ocean is not merely a frontier, it is a fulcrum, a pivot upon which the architecture of reality tilts toward vertigo. It is a sanctuary for intelligences that eclipse our own, intelligences that command technologies indistinguishable from magic, intelligences that dream in darkness while we dream of stars. To contemplate this possibility is to confront the fragility of our certainties, the contingency of our cosmos, the plasticity of our paradigms. We began this journey with a question: could the ocean harbor alien life? We end with a deeper question: what does it mean to live in a universe where the boundaries between nature and technology, between biology and consciousness, between science and spirit, dissolve into ambiguity? This question is not abstract, it is existential. It summons us to reimagine the vocation of humanity, not as conquest but as communion, not as dominion but as dialogue. For if the ocean harbors minds that dream in darkness, then sovereignty is fiction, and supremacy is delusion. We are tenants, not proprietors, inhabiting a world whose architectures of power are plural, whose ecologies of intelligence are manifold. This recognition is humbling, but it is also liberating, for it expands the horizon of possibility. It invites us to imagine futures that honor plurality, that harmonize power with purpose, that resonate with the rhythms of the real. Yet this invitation is perilous, for knowledge is ambivalent. It illuminates, but it also blinds, it liberates, but it also binds. The principles encoded in alien technologies, if assimilated, could transform civilization, but in which direction? Toward harmony or hubris, toward stewardship or subjugation. The history of technology is a chronicle of ambivalence, and the alien hypothesis amplifies this ambivalence to a cosmic scale. To navigate this scale, we must cultivate virtues that transcend intellect: humility, empathy, imagination. Humility before the vastness of reality, empathy toward the otherness of the other, imagination to envision futures that honor plurality, that harmonize power with purpose. These virtues are not luxuries, they are necessities, necessities inscribed upon the horizon of a world that trembles at the threshold of revelation. As you leave this journey, let the question linger like a sonar echo in the abyss. If aliens inhabit the ocean, what do they desire, and what do they demand? Do they seek dialogue or dominion, coexistence or conquest? Or do they seek nothing at all? Do they dwell in indifference, their architectures of meaning orthogonal to ours, their trajectories of purpose inscrutable to our categories of thought? Perhaps the answer is silence. Perhaps the ocean's whisper is not invitation but indifference, not summons but solitude. Yet even this silence is eloquent, for it speaks of a cosmos that resists domestication, that trembles with mysteries irreducible to method, irreducible to myth. It speaks of a reality that exceeds representation, that mocks the metrics of mastery, that humbles the hubris of certainty. The stars will overhead, indifferent yet intimate, and the ocean breathes its ancient breath. Its waves murmur against the shore, their cadence a litany of secrets, their rhythm a gospel of resonance. They do not answer, but they invite. They invite us to listen, not with ears but with imagination, not with instruments but with insight. For in their stillness lies a summons, and in their depths lies a disclosure that trembles at the edge of articulation, a disclosure that beckons us toward a horizon where knowledge is not possession but pursuit, not conquest but communion. May we have the courage to heed it.